The last nanny made it 6 hours. The one before that, 45 minutes. Quit by text, from the driveway. They didn't tell me what would happen when I actually fixed the problem. What did you just do? I held her. That's usually how it works. Babies like being held. It's not dark magic, Mr. Kang. It's called being warm. Who are you? The maid, sir. I'm literally wearing the uniform. Christabel Monroe came to clean floors. She didn't know she'd just become the only person Kang Jae-won couldn't threaten, couldn't buy, and couldn't break. And in 72 hours, she was going to find out exactly how far he'd go to keep her.
Jae-won stepped into the nursery like a man approaching a bomb. That's not possible. And yet, Christabel adjusted the baby, Mina, according to the crib, and watched him calculate. She could practically see the equations running behind his bloodshot eyes. Threat, asset, trap. She'd been calculated by worse men. 4 months, he said. Specialists from 3 continents, exposed heart valves, experimental medication. Nothing worked. Did any of them try holding her? His jaw tightened. Of course they. For how long? He stopped. Because when I walked in, that baby was alone in a crib. Christabel tilted her head. Crying, by herself, in a room that cost more than my apartment building. So I'm asking again, did anyone actually hold her? Or did they examine her, take notes, bill you, and leave? He didn't answer. Which was an answer. Behind her, the second crib rustled. Sua, awake now, was staring at Christabel with the intense focus only babies possessed. Not crying, just watching. Then she smiled. Jae-won made a sound like someone had shot him. She's never, his voice cracked. She's never done that. Not once. Not since. The door behind him burst open. An old man in an immaculate suit skidded into the room, saw the silent babies, and dropped his leather notebook. Sir, I heard the crying stop. I thought something had... He stared at Christabel, at the sleeping Mina, at the smiling Sua. His face went white. What happened? Herald. Jae-won didn't take his eyes off Christabel. Get me everything we have on the new maid. Everything. Now. The new maid? Herald looked at him, then back at his employer, clearly lost. She made them stop, Jae-won said quietly. She walked in and touched them, and they stopped. Herald's mouth fell open. Christabel rolled her eyes. I'm standing right here. You could just ask me things directly. Both men stared at her like she'd grown a second head. Right. She was speaking to the head of the Kong Syndicate like he was a difficult customer at a coffee shop. Most people didn't do that. Most people probably shouldn't do that. Christabel had stopped being most people around the 3rd time her ex-husband put her in the hospital. Look, she said, shifting Mina to her other hip with practiced ease. I don't know why I can calm them. Some babies just respond to certain people. It's not magic. It's not a scam. It's just how children work sometimes. Now, Sua is hungry. This diaper needs to be changed. And if someone doesn't make a bottle in the next 5 minutes, we're going to be right back where we started. She looked at Jae-won expectantly. He looked back at her like she was speaking Martian. The bottle, she repeated slowly, for your daughter, who is hungry. He glanced at Herald. Herald glanced at him. Neither moved. Oh my God. Christabel walked past both of them towards the warming station in the corner of the nursery, Mina still cradled against her chest. How have you people kept these babies alive for 4 months? Technically, Herald said weakly, we haven't been sleeping. Clearly, she tested the bottle temperature against her waist, made a face and dumped it. This formula is separated. How long has it been sitting here? I don't know. Find out and get me a fresh batch. She pointed to Jae-won without looking at him. You, the other one needs to be burped. She's been crying so long she swallowed air. Hold her upright against your shoulder and pat her back, gently. She's not a drum. Jae-won Kang, head of the Kong Syndicate, rumored to have personally executed 6 men last year, walked to his daughter's crib like he was approaching an altar. He picked up Sua with the careful terror of someone handling explosives. Like this? Higher on your shoulder. Support her head. Your hand is too low. He adjusted. Sua immediately spit up on his very expensive shirt. Christabel didn't bother hiding her smile. That's perfect. You're a natural. Herald, still standing frozen in the doorway, began writing furiously in his recovered notebook. What are you writing? Jae-won asked, not looking away from his daughter's face. History, sir. Herald's voice was thick. I'm writing history.
72 hours later, Christabel sat across from Kang Jae-won in his study, and he said, Name your price.
She'd been expecting money, a raise, maybe benefits. She had not been expecting the gun collection on the wall, the whiskey that probably cost more than a car, or the leather folder on his desk with her entire life printed inside. You investigated me. I investigate everyone. You investigated me before you offered me a job. I investigated you before I let you touch my children. He slid the folder across the desk. I know about Marcus Cole. The name hit her like ice water. She didn't flinch. Flinching was how you got hit again. My ex-husband, she said evenly, is not relevant to this conversation. He's relevant to every conversation you have for the rest of your life. Jae-Won's voice was flat, factual. He's the reason you've moved 3 times in 8 months. He's the reason you work jobs that pay cash. He's the reason you flinch when men raise their voices. Yes, I noticed. And he's the reason you're sitting in front of me instead of running a pediatric ward like you should be. She kept her face blank. You done? I'm offering you a way out. I don't need your charity. I'm not offering charity. He leaned forward. I'm offering an exchange. You keep my daughters calm. I keep you safe. Not hidden, safe. There's a difference. And what does safe look like to you? 37 security cameras, 12 armed guards, a house that Marcus Cole couldn't breach with a tank. He held her gaze. And if he ever gets close enough to try, I have people who make problems disappear. She should have been horrified. She was so tired of being horrified. I have conditions, she said. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe. Most people didn't negotiate with him. Name them. I don't do anything illegal. I don't see anything illegal. I don't forget anything I see, and I don't lie to cops. She held up a second finger. The woman in the white coat who looked at me like I was gum on her shoe, Dr. Hahn something. I don't answer to her. Done. I'm not finished. She held up a third finger. I want to see your wife's medical records from her pregnancy. The temperature in the room dropped. Why? Because I've worked with enough premature babies to recognize neonatal withdrawal symptoms. Christabel met his glare without flinching. Your daughters aren't sick, Mr. Kang. They're detoxing. And I want to know what they're detoxing from. Jae-Won went very, very still. That's a serious accusation. It's not an accusation. It's a diagnosis. She stood. Your wife was on something during the pregnancy, something that affected the babies. No one caught it because everyone was looking for a disease, not a side effect. I'm looking at the actual problem. And if you're wrong, then you fire me and I go back to cleaning floors. She shrugged. But I'm not wrong. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then he laughed. It was a cracked, exhausted sound, but real, genuine, the first thing he'd heard from him. You walk into my house, hold my daughter for 5 minutes, and then tell me that my dead wife was drugged, my family doctor missed it, and you, the maid, figured it out from across the room. That's about right, yeah. Who are you? I'm someone who pays attention. She walked toward the door. The records, tonight. I'll start reviewing them after the girls go down. Christabel. She stopped, hand on the doorknob. You never named your price. She looked back at him, this man of blood and power, watching her like she was a code he couldn't crack. Keep me safe, she said. That's the price. You do that, and I'll make sure your daughters never cry themselves to sleep again. She was gone before he could respond. Behind her, Kang Jae-Won sat alone in his study, staring at the door she'd walked through, and realized he had no idea what had just happened. He only knew he'd lost control of the conversation, and he wasn't entirely sure he minded.
Dr. Han Soo-yeon found Christabel in the kitchen at midnight. Working late? Christabel didn't look up from the medical files spread across the counter. Reading late, there's a difference. Dr. Han moved closer, heels clicking on the tile.
I heard you've been promoted from housekeeping to childcare. Quite the jump. The babies seem to like me. Babies like anyone who holds them. And yet no one else was doing it. Dr. Han's smile didn't waver, but something in her eyes sharpened. I've been the Kang family physician for 6 years. I was with Mrs. Kang through her entire pregnancy. I delivered those babies. I know. I've been reading your charts. My charts? Your prescriptions, specifically. Christabel finally looked up. You had Mrs. Kang on 3 different sedatives during her 3rd trimester. Did you miss the part of medical school where they explained that crosses the placenta? The silence stretched like a blade. That's a very technical observation, Dr. Han said slowly, for someone who cleans toilets. I have a lot of technical observations. Christabel closed the file. Like how those babies should have been on a tapering protocol from day 1, like how 4 months of screaming could have been prevented by someone who actually knew what they were doing. Is that what you're going to tell Mr. Kang? I already did. Dr. Han's composure cracked for just a moment, a flash of something ugly beneath the polished surface. You don't know what you're playing with. I'm not playing anything. Christabel stood, gathering the files. I'm doing my job, which right now is making sure those babies are healthy. If that's a problem for you, maybe ask yourself why. She walked toward the door. Miss Monroe. She stopped. I've been in this family a long time. I know how things work here. I know who survives and who doesn't. Dr. Han's voice was silk over steel. You might want to be careful. This house has a way of chewing up people who think they're special. Christabel turned, looked at the doctor for a long moment. I've been chewed up before, Dr. Han. I'm still here. She smiled, no warmth in it. So you might want to be careful too, because I don't scare easy and I don't bluff. She left the doctor standing alone in the kitchen. Behind her, Dr. Han's carefully manicured fingers curled into fists. She pulled out her phone and made a call. 2 weeks later, the threat arrived. Not from Dr. Han, that would come later. From Marcus Cole. Christabel was bathing Mina in the nursery's small tub when her phone buzzed with a number she didn't recognize. She answered without thinking, one hand keeping the baby upright. Found you. Her blood went cold. Did you think you could hide in a fancy house and I wouldn't figure it out? Marcus's voice was slurred, drunk probably, high, definitely dangerous. Some bitch doctor called me, told me exactly where you're sleeping, told me when the guards change. Christabel's free hand trembled. She forced it still. Marcus? I'm coming for you, Chrissy. Tonight, tomorrow. You won't know when, but I'm coming. And when I find you, I'm gonna finish what I started. The line went dead. Mina splashed happily in the water, oblivious. Christabel stared at the phone in her hand, feeling the old fear rise like bile in her throat, the terror she'd spent 3 years running from, the certainty that no matter how far she went, he would always find her. Then she looked at the baby, at Mina's wide eyes and toothless grin. The fear didn't disappear, but something else rose with it. She lifted Mina from the water, wrapped her in a towel, and walked to the door of the nursery. Harold? The old butler appeared almost instantly. Miss, I need to see J1 now. Harold's eyes narrowed at her expression. Is something wrong? Yes. She held Mina closer. And I'm about to make it someone else's problem.
She found him in the basement. She didn't ask what the basement was for. She didn't want to know. But when Harold led her down the concrete stairs and through the reinforced door, she saw Jaewon standing over a man tied to a chair, and she understood exactly what kind of house she'd walked into. He looked up when she entered. His hands were bloody. You shouldn't be down here. Marcus called me. She kept her voice flat, steady. He said someone told me where I am. Someone told me when the guards change shifts. He said he's coming for me. The man in the chair made a muffled sound. Jaewon didn't look at him. Who? He said some bitch doctor. Silence. Then Jaewon turned to the man in the chair and asked very quietly, did Dr. Han contact anyone outside this organization in the last 2 weeks? The man nodded frantically, blood dripping from his split lip. She made calls, private phone. I saw her. Jaewon's hand shot out, gripped the man's throat. Where is she now? I don't know. She left yesterday, said she had personal business. Christabel watched. She should have been horrified. She should have been calling the police. Instead, she said, Harold told me you'd keep me safe. Jaewon released the man's throat, turned to face her fully. I meant it. Then prove it. She stepped closer, still holding Mina wrapped in her towel. Stepped closer, still holding Mina wrapped in her towel. Because right now, I have a man who beat me for 3 years promising to finish the job, and a woman in your organization who sold me out. So either this fortress is real, or I need to start running again. He crossed the room to her in 3 strides. Stopped close enough that she had to look up. You're not running. You don't get to decide that. I'm not deciding. His voice was low, certain. I'm promising. Marcus Cole will not touch you. Dr. Han will not touch you. No one will touch you ever, because... He stopped. She waited. Because why, Jaewon? The question hung between them. The baby gurgled softly in her arms. Because I don't know how to do this without you, he said finally. And I'm not interested in learning. She stared at him, this man with blood on his hands, standing in a torture room, making promises he had no right to make. That's not good enough. Then tell me what is. Show me. She adjusted her grip on Mina. Don't tell me you'll protect me. Don't make speeches. Just show me. He nodded once. Then he turned to the man in the chair and said, Find Dr. Han. Bring her here, tonight. The man nodded frantically, and Jaewon's guards began untying him. Christabel watched and felt something shift in her chest. Not trust, not yet, but the beginning of it. They brought Dr. Han to the basement at 3 a.m. Christabel was there. Jaewon had asked if she wanted to stay, and she'd said yes, because she was done letting other people fight her battles in the dark. Dr. Han looked smaller without her white coat. Her makeup was smeared, her elegant composure shattered. Jaewon, I can explain. You contacted Marcus Cole. His voice was ice. You told him where she sleeps. You gave us our security schedules. I did it for you. She stepped toward him, desperate. Don't you see? She's nobody. She walked in off the street, and suddenly you're looking at her like what? Like you never looked at me. The words ripped out of her. 6 years I stood beside you. I kept your secrets. I did everything you asked, and you never once... What else did you do? She stopped. The medications. Jaewon stepped closer. The ones you prescribed to my wife, the sedatives that crossed the placenta and left my daughters in withdrawal for 4 months. Was that an accident? Silence. Answer me. She was going to leave. Dr. Han's voice cracked. She found out about the business, about what you really do, and she was going to take the babies and go to the police. I saved you. I adjusted the medications, made sure the delivery would be complicated, made sure she wouldn't... The room went very still. Christabel watched Jaewon's face. She watched him understand. You killed her. I saved your empire. You killed my wife. She was weak. Dr. Han was screaming now, all composure gone. She was going to destroy everything you'd built. I did what you would have done if you weren't so blinded. I loved her. The words were quiet, almost gentle. Dr. Han stopped. I loved her, Jaewon repeated, and you took her from me. You took her from my daughters, and you spent 4 months watching me suffer while you waited for me to fall into your arms. He turned to his men. Take her. Jaewon, please, I did it for us. There is no us. He looked at her with something beyond hatred, something cold and final. There never was. They dragged her away. Her screams echoed up the stairs long after she was gone. Christabel stood in the silence, watching Jaewon stare at the spot where the doctor had been. She'll go to prison, she said quietly, for the rest of her life. Prison isn't enough. Maybe not, but it's legal. And if you want your 2 little girls to grow up in this house instead of foster care, legal has to be enough. He turned to look at her. She held his gaze. You want to torture her. You want to kill her. I understand that. But you have 2 little girls upstairs who need a father more than they need revenge. So you're going to let the system handle her, and you're going to be there when your daughters wake up in the morning. He was silent for a long moment. Then, you're giving me orders. Someone has to. The corner of his mouth twitched. Not a smile, not yet, but something close. Has anyone ever told you you're terrifying? Has anyone ever told you you're not as scary as you think? He actually laughed at that, a short, broken sound. What about Marcus? Christabel's jaw tightened. What about him? He's still out there. He's still coming. Then I guess you'd better find him first. Jaewon looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Done.
Marcus Cole came 2 nights later. He waited until 2 a.m. He came through the garden entrance, the same one Dr. Hahn had told him about before she was arrested. He made it past the outer wall, past the first checkpoint, all the way to the 2nd floor. He did not make it to Christabel's room, because Christabel was waiting for him. She stood in the hallway outside the nursery, a fire poker in her hands, and watched her ex-husband emerge from the shadows like a nightmare made flesh. "Hey, baby," he grinned, drunk and wild-eyed. "Miss me?" Not once. He lunged. She swung. The poker caught him across the forearm, not enough to stop him, but enough to make him howl. He grabbed for her, caught her wrist, twisted. She drove her knee into his groin and yanked free. "You bitch!" "That's new." She backed towards the nursery door, poker raised. "You used to call me stupid, worthless, dead weight, but never bitch. Are you evolving?" He charged again. This time he was faster. He caught the poker, ripped it from her hands, backhanded her hard enough to send her crashing into the wall. Stars exploded across her vision. When they cleared, he was standing over her, the poker raised. "I'm going to enjoy this." The gunshot was deafening. Marcus dropped, screaming, clutching his shattered knee. Jae-won stood at the end of the hallway, weapon still raised. Behind him, 6 of his men emerged from the darkness like ghosts. "Step away from her." Marcus snarled through his pain. "You think shooting me changes anything. You think she's gonna love you because you played hero. She doesn't love anyone. She's broken. Jae-won shot him again, the other knee. Marcus's screams echoed off the marble walls. "Jae-won!" Christabel pushed herself up, tasting blood. "Stop!" He didn't lower the gun. He deserves worse. "I know." She limped towards him, put her hand on his arm, the one holding the weapon. "I know he does, but you're not going to kill him in front of me. That's not who you are." "You don't know who I am." "I know exactly who you are." She looked up at him, steady despite the blood dripping from her split lip. "I know you're the man who sat in a nursery at 4 a.m. feeding babies because you couldn't bear to hear them cry. I know you're the man who punched a wall because someone insulted me. I know you're the man who's about to make a choice about what kind of person he wants to be." His hand trembled. "He hurt you." "Yes." "For years." "Yes." "And you want me to let him live?" She shook her head. "I want you to let the system handle him. I want you to be better than he is. I want you to be the man your daughters need." Behind them, the nursery door creaked open. Mina's small face appeared in the gap, eyes wide, woken by the gunshots. "Mama." The word hit Christabel like a physical force. She turned, looked at the baby, at the child who had never spoken before, who had chosen this moment to say her first word. "Mama." Christabel crossed to her in 3 strides, scooped her up, held her close. "I'm here. I'm right here, baby." Behind her, she heard Jae-won lower the gun, heard him tell his men to take Marcus away, heard Marcus screaming threats that grew fainter as he was dragged down the stairs. Then Jae-won was beside her, one hand on her back, the other reaching for Mina. "She called you Mama." "I heard." She never spoken before. "I heard." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "I'm going to call you that too, if you let me." She looked at him, this man of blood and power, standing in a hallway full of shell casings, asking permission to call her his children's mother. "You haven't even taken me to dinner." He laughed, broken and surprised and real. "Dinner, right." He ran a hand through his hair. "I'll schedule that." "You do that." She walked back into the nursery, still holding Mina, and didn't look back. But she was smiling.
Marcus Cole disappeared. Christabel didn't ask where, didn't want to know. The official story was that he'd fled the country after the break-in. His passport was found in Mexico, along with evidence that he'd crossed the border. No body was ever recovered. She knew what that meant. She found she didn't mind. Dr. Hahn's trial was faster. Federal charges, murder, conspiracy, assault on an infant. The confession she'd given in the basement was inadmissible, but it didn't matter. The paper trail Christabel had built was enough.
The prescriptions, the medical records, the testimony of staff who'd seen too much over the years. 25 years, no parole. Christabel watched the verdict on television, Sua asleep in her lap, and felt nothing. Not relief, not satisfaction, just emptiness, like closing a door that had been open for too long. "It's over," Jaewon said, sitting beside her on the nursery sofa. "Is it? Dr. Han is in prison. Marcus is gone. No one else is coming for you." She looked at him. "Someone is always coming. That's how it works." Not anymore. He took her hand, carefully, like he was still learning how to do it. "I meant what I said. You're safe here, you and the girls." "The girls?" She smiled slightly. "That include me now?" "That's always included you." He squeezed her hand. "From the first day, I just didn't have the words for it." She leaned into him, just slightly, let herself rest against his shoulder. "I'm not good at this," she said quietly, "at trusting, at staying, at believing things won't fall apart." "I'm not good at it either." "Then why are we doing it?" He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Because neither of us knows how to be alone anymore, and that terrifies me, but losing you terrifies me more." She turned her head, looked up at him. "That's the most honest thing you've ever said to me." "I'm trying," he said, deep and resonant. "I know." She kissed him. It was gentle, tentative, two broken people figuring out how to touch without hurting. When they pulled apart, Sua stirred in her lap. "Mama." Christabel laughed, tears pricking her eyes. "Yeah, baby, I'm right here."
6 months later. The Kang Syndicate was changing. Christabel noticed it in small ways at first, the way meetings ran shorter, the way Jaewon came home earlier, the way the men in black suits started nodding to her in the hallways instead of averting their eyes. Then the bigger changes started. "You want me to do what?" She was standing in Jaewon's study, staring at a folder he just handed her. Inside was a business proposal, legitimate, legal, and utterly unexpected. The Child Care Center Network. He leaned back in his chair. 12 locations across Chicago. Free care for single mothers, staffed by trained professionals, funded by Kang Industries. Kang Industries? The legitimate arm of the family business. We're expanding it. She flipped through the proposal. It was thorough, well-researched, professional. "This is my idea. You mentioned it once, 3 months ago, in passing. I mentioned that there should be more affordable childcare for mothers escaping abusive situations, and now there will be." He gestured at the folder. "I need someone to run it, someone who understands the population, has the credentials, and won't let me cut corners when times get tough." She stared at him. "You built a non-profit childcare network because I made an offhand comment." "I built a non-profit childcare network because you're brilliant, and I'm tired of watching you wasted on bottle schedules." He stood, walked around the desk, stopped in front of her. "You were 2 semesters for a nursing degree. You have a degree in early childhood education. You've spent 6 months turning my daughters into functional human beings. I'm not offering you a job, Christabel. I'm offering you a platform." "A platform?" "To do what you've always wanted to do. Help people, make things better, actually use that terrifying brain of yours." She looked at the folder, then at him. "This is you trying to keep me. This is me trying to deserve you." He took her hand. "There's a difference." She laughed, actually laughed. "You're ridiculous. I'm in love with you." The words landed like a shockwave. He'd never said it before. Neither of them had. They danced around it, implied it, showed it in 100 small ways, but the words had never been spoken. "That's the first time you've said that," she said quietly. "I know. It took you 6 months. I'm slow." He squeezed her hand. "But I'm sure." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she kissed him, hard and certain, and when she pulled back, she said, "I'm going to run your nonprofit, and it's going to be the best childcare network in the Midwest, and you're going to stay out of my way and let me do it right." He grinned. "Yes, ma'am. And I love you too, for the record."
His grin softened into something gentler, something real. "For the record," he repeated, "I'll take it."
2 years later, the conference room was full of men in expensive suits who did not want to be there. Christabel walked in anyway. She was dressed in a tailored black dress, her natural hair pulled back in a professional style, carrying a tablet that contained more data than any of them wanted to see. Behind her, Harold followed with his ever-present notebook, radiating quiet satisfaction. "Gentlemen," she said, taking the seat at the head of the table, "thank you for making time." The men exchanged glances. This was not how meetings with the Kang organization usually went. "Mrs. Kang." "Miss Monroe." She didn't look up from her tablet. "I kept my name." More glances. "Miss Monroe, we were expecting to meet with Mr. Kang regarding the Eastern District negotiations." "Mr. Kang is at home with our daughters. It's their 3rd birthday. He doesn't work on birthdays." She finally looked up, meeting their eyes one by one. "I'll be handling this meeting, and all subsequent meetings regarding legitimate operations. Is that a problem?" Silence. One man, older, grayer, clearly used to being the most powerful person in the room, leaned forward. "With respect, Miss Monroe, you don't have standing in this organization. You're not—" "I'm the woman who restructured Kang Industries' legal holdings to avoid $16 million in regulatory penalties last year. I'm the woman who identified the security leak that nearly cost this organization the Henderson contract. And I'm the woman who, according to the documentation in front of you, now has full authority over all legitimate business operations, while Mr. Kang manages the aspects of this organization that I choose not to see." She smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "You were saying?" The man sat back. No one else spoke. "Good." She pulled up a new screen on her tablet. "Now, the Eastern District negotiations. Here's what we're actually going to do." 45 minutes later, the meeting was over. The men filed out, some looking shell-shocked, others looking impressed, all of them looking at her with new eyes. Harold lingered in the doorway. "That was exceptional, if I may say so." "You may." She gathered her things. "Though I could have done without Mr. Patterson trying to talk over me in the first 5 minutes. I noticed you handled that. I reminded him that his contract renewal depends on my signature. Funny how that focused his attention." Harold smiled, a rare expression on his usually stoic face. "The master chose well." "The master didn't choose." She walked past him toward the door. "I did. There's a difference." Harold's smile widened. "Indeed there is, ma'am. Indeed there is."
3 years later. The garden party was in full swing when Christabel stepped outside. Mina and Sua were running across the lawn with the uncomplicated joy of 5-year-olds, their shrieks of laughter echoing off the mansion walls. Other children, the sons and daughters of business associates, of staff members, of the network of people who'd slowly become family, ran with them. The Kang mansion had changed in 5 years. More flowers, more light, more laughter. Christabel had done that. She knew it. Everyone knew it. "Mom! Mom, watch!" Mina was attempting a cartwheel. It was terrible. She landed in a heap on the grass and immediately popped back up, grinning. "Beautiful!" Christabel called. "Keep practicing." "You're too soft on her." Jaiwan appeared beside her, holding 2 glasses of champagne. He'd gone gray at the temples. Distinguished, she told him. "Old," he said. She took the champagne. "And you're too hard on her. Balance. She gets away with murder." "She's 5. That's what 5-year-olds do." He watched his daughters run across the lawn, and something softened in his face, the same something that always softened when he looked at them, at her. "I have something for you." "If it's jewelry, I told you to stop buying me jewelry." "It's not jewelry." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small leather folder. "It's paperwork." She took it, opened it, read it again. "This is the deed to Kang Industries, All legitimate holdings, completely transferred to your name." He sipped his champagne. "Happy anniversary." She stared at him. "You're giving me your company?" "I'm giving you the company you built. There's a difference." He shrugged. "The other parts, the parts you don't want to see, those stay with me. But this, the child care network, the real estate holdings, the charitable foundations, that's yours. Has been for years. The paperwork just makes it official." "Jaiwan, you walked into my house 5 years ago to clean floors." He turned to face her fully. "Now you run half of my empire. You've earned every inch of it. I'm not giving you anything. I'm just catching up to reality." She looked at the paperwork, then at him, then at their daughters, running wild across the lawn. "You know what I thought the first day I saw you? That I was a mess who couldn't take care of his own children? That you were the most dangerous man I'd ever met." She smiled. "I was wrong. I'm still dangerous. Not to me." She took his hand. "Never to me." He lifted her hand to his lips. "Never to you." They stood there for a moment, watching their children play, holding the deed to an empire between them. Then Mina's voice cut across the garden. "Mom, Sua pushed me." "I did not. She fell." "Here we go," Christabel muttered. But she was smiling as she walked toward her daughters. And Jaiwan watched her go, this woman who had walked into his house with cleaning supplies and walked out owning half his world. He'd never made a better deal.